All right, so next question is from Abby Laubach. How to stop anxious crying and whimpering? Tahoe is still a crybaby. So anxious crying and whimpering can come from a lot of different places. Whining in general, I would say it's easily one of the most annoying things that you could have to deal with your dog, because half of the time it's really subconscious, right? The dog doesn't even realize that they're doing it, right? And it could just escalate from this like minor scale of things, like all the way up to like a way more serious, like really loud whine. So I try to determine what situations is my dog whining in first. Can I recognize any sort of patterns with it? So for example, my German Shepherd is really whiny in the car, right? For whatever reason, he gets anxious in the car. So I've pinpointed the specific situation that makes him anxious so that I could start to come up with a plan for how to work through it. Now, keeping in mind that anxiety is typically coming from a dog lacking direction, right? Or looking for information of some sorts. I know I'm gonna need to engage their brain to some degree so I can take their mind off of whatever it is that's making them anxious. And then understanding that it's a subconscious thing, I can't necessarily just correct for it. Sometimes you can, right? There's some dogs with really obnoxious whining that you can correct them and they'll chill out, right? But I prefer to pick something more specific to be able to address. So using the example of the car with my German Shepherd, because it's a subconscious whining thing that he does and gets himself just worked up, I pick something to ask him to do. So I'll tend to ask him to down in the car, right? Then what I'll do is if he breaks that down, I'll correct at a really firm level for that. I'll make sure he understands that you need to care more about this down right now than whatever it is that you're caring about. And what happens is that takes 75% of his brain, takes it off of what he's anxious about and focuses on the position. Now, that doesn't always 100% remove the anxiety and remove the whining, but what we'll see is we'll see a dramatic reduction in it right off the bat. So it'll go from like a 10 to a 2, right? And then at that point, you could look at maybe I could give some corrections for the remainder whining, or frankly, with most dogs, you can kind of just suck it up at that point and just work through it, right? So in his case, like I said, he'll let out some whimpers here and there, but it's nothing too extreme after I do that. And it's enough where I can just manage through it and not worry about it too much, and it'll typically die away on its own a little bit. Also look at, if the situations that your dog is getting anxious in are coming from anticipating something exciting happening. So another example, right? So my Malinois, I used to do tons and tons and tons of training in fields with him, right? Fields were like the ultimate good spot. When we went there, we would throw a ball, or we would work on exercises, or we would do all sorts of different things. So to this day, if we're walking and we see a park up ahead or a big open field, he'll start to get a little anxious from that, right? You'll hear that, you'll kind of see the breathing change and the steps get a little tighter and a little quicker and stuff like that, and they just get really excited, right? And in some dogs, that excitement will turn into, or that arousal will turn into the whimpering, right? Or the whining, or whatever it may be. So ask yourself first, can you decrease some of the arousal associated with those areas? So I'm very conscious of making sure that I don't do a whole lot of high arousal play in those types of areas anymore with him, because it was getting to a point where it was getting kind of out of hand, where he would just get so jacked up when he saw them, right? Then I picked, can I ask him to do something and get his brain on something else? And I would work on more calm things. I would work on more just downstays and stationary positions and stuff like that. But in the end of the day, you're gonna have some dogs that are a little more anxious than others. You're gonna have some dogs that are a little bit more whiny than others with things. And a part of that is just you're adding a degree of control into the mix anytime you're asking your dog to do something, and that arousal is gonna need to leak out somewhere, right? If your dog were totally loose, they would be running around probably and getting all amped up and getting all excited and stuff like that, and it wouldn't be a big deal, aside from the fact that you need them to stop doing that for a minute, right? So when you ask them to stop doing that, that kind of mental restraint that you're putting on them by getting them to focus on things and getting them to hold still and stuff when they would rather be, running around all over the place is kind of unnatural. So because of that, you're gonna get that whining. So ask them to do things, get their brain on other stuff, reduce arousal associated with the situations that your dog is getting anxious in. But those are a couple of pointers I have for being able to work through some of those things. You also got to factor in breed, right? In both of my dogs' cases, they are high drive shepherds, right? A Malinois Belgian Shepherd and a German Shepherd that are designed to work, designed to go, go, go. So sitting still and doing nothing is kind of foreign to them. So they don't necessarily like doing it. They'll do it, but they don't enjoy it, right? So that's where you'll see some arousal and some anxiety come into play. So hope that helps. Those are my tips on working through some of that kind of stuff. Just keep all of those factors in mind as you're doing it.